So let's talk about tarot. No, it's not some spiritual hocus pocus, or at least that was what I thought at first. But that was before I learned about tarot and before I actually got into it. It started with picking card readings on the internet, especially from the Gem Goddess. Then with Christmas in 2021 I got my first own deck from Biddy Tarot.
Dit is Janske en dit is een Snapchat memory omdat ik vandaag mijn eerste tarot reading heb gedaan. Hier kun je het zien. En het ging zo goed.
And now, 4 years later, I'm a big fan of tarot. I love the wisdom it gives you, but also see it as a useful tool for reflection. First of all, hello everyone, welcome back to this new video. This will be a new yapping video, just like the previous one where it was just yapping about why you should journal. So, if you haven't watched that one, go check it out. But if you are here to hear me talk about tarot and how to get into tarot, how I got into tarot, then this video is for you. And when I started to get into tarot, the first thing that I did a lot was pulling one single card every morning. It helped me learn all the meanings of the card. And second of all, it made me familiar with tarot in general. And also, you could say it awakened my spiritual interest. Because in the beginning I was still very skeptical and I still wanted to see if it really worked. And sometimes I'm still skeptical because it's hard to believe in something that you never will know for sure is real. But sometimes you just have to believe it. Because where does the magic go if we don't believe in stuff? I always like to quote young Sheldon up on this because I love that series. When he tries to convince his mother of believing in God again, even though he is an atheist. He talks about the precision of the universe and that with such precision, it's very logical to presume that there is some sort of creator or a higher power. Okay, well, with that being said, let's start off with just pulling one card. I don't know, because it's possible, because it gets the video running, because then we're getting into the flow. I don't know if you can hear me still as well if my phone is laying there, but what I always do, and there are so many ways, and I'm not telling you in this video how you should or shouldn't read tarot or anything. I'm just trying to tell you more about it so that you can get familiar with it and maybe make a decision on whether or not it's something for you. But I always shuffle the cards until one comes to the surface. By the way, this is the Everyday Tarot deck from Biddy Tarot. It was my very first one. I got this for Christmas in 2021. Wait. Sorry, I just keep on yapping. But I think if you watch some videos of mine, you know that by now. Nothing is scripted. Everything is just me going with the flow. Anyways, I would recommend if you're a beginner, have no tarot decks at all. The Rider's Way Tarot, the classical one, it was made in France and there are no records of it being used as divination tool, but it was used as a playing game. And the original pack, very cool, you can see in Louvre in Paris. I probably pronounced that wrong. And that's all hand painted, so that's very cool. Anyway, the Rider Way Tarot works a lot with semiotics and with just references, cultural as well as in the art scene and in history scene. It's very rich of underlying messages, and that makes it very easy to give an interpretation to the card. But I do find the booklet not very straightforward. So if you search for something with a very clear description of the cards, I would recommend one of Biddy Tarot, her decks, which is this one, and she has another one. But she also has a website with very clear descriptions of the card, meanings of the card. So if you want to have the reader's weight, you can still go on our website and find the meaning of the cards. I want to show you something. Sorry, we are gonna pull a card, but I just want to yap first. This was my second tarot deck. I still got this before the Rider's Weight, but I want to show you that a deck like this isn't very practical, very easy for your first deck because it uses flowers on the cards, which I think is very, very aesthetic, very beautiful. But for someone that doesn't know a lot about plants and their symbolic meaning, it's very hard to read the cards without that knowledge. We have the periwinkle veins on the cup cards. I don't know. It's less straightforward in their storytelling by picture. Okay, so anyway, that was what I had to say about starter decks. So let's shuffle the cards, see which one pops out. The Two of Cups reversed, the Two of Pentacles reversed, and the Knight of Cups reversed. But I'm not going to share it because that's not the purpose of this video. But I do see a message of sharing, going with the flow, protecting your energy. I want to talk about how I got into tarot. You already got some little sneak peeks in the intro. Most of the time, if you watch videos about people that have a spiritual awakening or got into tarot, they will tell you about a very turmoil time, about a time that they weren't happy, something like that. I don't really think that was the case for me. I was just living life, going with the flow. But I do think that I entered a time of self-discovery, self-reflection when I got into tarot. I really use tarot as one of the tools to get to know myself better. And how that works is, well, one of the things I think people really like tarot, whether you believe or don't believe the fact that communicates by some higher power. We humans really like to make connections in our brains. We kind of like to organize things, make things clear for a brain, see patterns, and make things logical. Or at least that's what the brain likes to do. So if we get a card, we get a meaning, naturally our brain is going to find a connection with how that can be implemented in our own life, how we can lay connections with the events that happened in our own life or the feelings that we have. But because we have so many meanings. We have 78 cards and they all have an upright and a reversed card meaning. And then there are many ways you can read them, so they don't have necessarily one meaning connected to them. You could almost call it a prompt to reflect upon, to see how this maybe gives you a new perspective on a situation you're facing. And I really think that helped me learning so much more about myself. Also, it made me so much more confident in myself. And I do think this comes from me believing in the cards and believing that I got more confident in, okay, cards say I'm capable, I will probably be capable. Or I would tend to be more outgoing or more daring in some things because I believed I could do it. And then I would face the event, the thing that I once dreaded, and I would prove myself that I indeed was capable of doing something that I first thought I wasn't capable of. And because I did this, my self-esteem, my belief in myself, I became so much more confident because of the cards and because of myself. We've got to give ourselves credits too. So that's how I got into tarot. I love tarot. I think it's a very multi-purpose tool. First of all, the self-reflection part. Second of all, I also think it has a very social part. People that know that I am into tarot often request a reading, and I am more than happy to give one because I love doing tarot readings, and it also helps me practice my tarot readings. Whether or not it's accurate or not, I believe my readings are most of the time pretty accurate because you're giving them, you're starting to talk with this person and you're getting to know them better. So I also think on a bonding level, it's very valuable because it gives you conversations with people that you normally wouldn't have that easily, I guess. And I love deep conversations, so I guess that's a win. By the way, did you notice that I put on my tarot card necklace for this reading? It's the sun. First I wanted the Empress, but in necklace format she wasn't as pretty. First I did all these single cards every morning, and then I started to do more complex spreads. So then I made this Pinterest board where I pinned different tarot spreads or easy cheat sheets for the cards. For example, what does cups tell you, what does swords tell you, but also what do the numbers tell you, what does the major arcana tell you. I really got into all the little details, and that was very fun for me. I was really having fun with playing with the cards, getting to know them. I was just doing whatever I felt called to. I know that there are people that want their cards to be read exactly like in the booklets. I don't do that. I like to give my own interpretation, and I really enjoyed the whole practice of tarot. And I also got this little notebook in which I wrote down my readings. So I drew the spread that I did, and then I wrote down the meanings. And because I was writing it down, I got more acquainted with the meanings. At some point, I think this was very early on in the whole tarot reading, getting to know the tarot cards process. I got into oracle cards. I got my first oracle deck when I was reading for approximately half a year, because I got one from 2 classmates of mine for my birthday. They gave me the daily ritual oracle deck. There are so many different oracle cards that make cards around different topics, like daily rituals about self-care rituals. I also have the Oracle of the Crystals, which talks about the meaning of the crystals. I have the Healing Waters. I think this is a very classical one. I have the Love Who You Are. There was really a phase in my life that I loved to go to spiritual stores where they had incense and gemstones and tarot cards, meditation stuff and journaling stuff, you know, all the good stuff. Most of the time I bought a deck because I got some sticky fingers, you know. You could say I have a problem, or not a problem, a little addiction. These are all that I have here at my parental house. But at my student house, I also have, I think, 3 tarot decks and 4 oracle decks. Maybe 3. And I also have the pocket size one instead, but the animal spirit. Anyway, now you know a little bit about the decks that I got. I also have the Moonology deck. One is the Season of the Witch, which is more about dark rituals, like the Rider's Waite, of course. I have a more modern day tarot deck, and then I also have a variation of the Rider's Waite with a sort of cheat sheet, because it has like this border where you can see the element and the keywords. I think you can still use tarot even though you don't believe in, I don't know, the universe or the higher power it's communicating for, because I think you can also see it as a tool, or you can just use them as cards that simply hand you prompts to reflect upon. But if you got even the slightest bit of interest in tarot because of this video, I would recommend watching pick a card videos. I also have videos, for example, I will link them down in the description, like I said, journaling with tarot cards, but also I have this vlog around Christmas time, I believe, where I do a pick a card reading. So you can watch these two. I also will link down Biddy Tarot. It's a website with a lot of information around tarot. If you are not willing to buy a tarot deck yet because you don't know if you like it enough, I also have an app that I can recommend for you. I know it's much more fun, or at least for me, to have a tangible card in your hands. But if you are still in doubt whether or not you like it, you want a deck, there is this app called Sanctuary, and they have a lot of spiritual things on their app. Most of the things I don't use. I mostly use this for astrology, but they have psychics on their app. Never use them. I don't know if it's trustworthy. So if you want to use that, do a little background check before you buy a service, because I don't know. But they also have this little part of their app where you can pull a tarot card a day, and maybe that's very interesting for you to work with if you're new. So there's this little package in the description that you can use if you want to get into tarot. Then if you're ready, you can buy your first deck and you can embark on your journey of tarot, maybe spirituality in its extent. First I got into tarot, then I got into like the more theoretical approach of astrology, and then last but not least I got into gemstones and their meaning and buying them because oh my god, they are so pretty. Last in my spiritual journey I got into meditation. If you already are on a spiritual journey or into tarot, please tell me your stories. How did you get into tarot, or how did you get into spirituality? How does your journey look like so far? And without anything else to say, I hope I see you in my next video. Please like, subscribe, comment, you know the drill. And I see you the next time. Bye!